How would you like to earn this and a bit more for a night's work?
Why, that's more money than I make in a month. What must I do?
3 things. You must let me blindfold you so you cannot see where I lead you. You must sew whatever I put in front of you without asking questions. And you must not tell anyone a word of any of this.
Agreed.
Shortly he gathered up his needles, his awl, and his thread. Morgiana blindfolded his eyes with a thick bandage, and they set out through the winding streets of ancient Baghdad, Morgiana leading him here and there until they came to the house of Cassim. Morgiana removed the blindfold. Osama bin Baba Mustafa beheld a head and a man's quartered body lying before him on a table. Remembering his promise to ask no questions, he proceeded to sew the pieces together with great skill. Morgiana paid him 2 dinars for his work. Then, after blindfolding him once more, she led him back to his house. The next day it was given out that Cassim the merchant had died after being thrown from his mule while riding in the forest. Cassim received an honorable burial. His wife died of grief 2 days later. Since they had no children, his brother, Ali Baba, inherited his household and all his wealth. When the 40 thieves returned to the cave and discovered the body missing, they knew that someone else had also found their cave. The sheik was visibly distressed.
We must find that person and kill him.
The sheik sent the bravest and smartest of the 40 thieves into the city to find out if anybody had recently acquired great wealth or died under mysterious circumstances. When the messenger arrived in the city, only one shop, the cobbler's, was open. He noticed the cobbler hunched over, working by the light of an oil lamp.
I am surprised that you see well enough to sew in such a dim light. I may be old, but this is nothing. Allah has blessed me with good eyesight, and just as well too. Why, the other day, with a light no brighter than this, I sewed up a body which had been cut into 6 parts. When I had finished, nobody would have guessed that poor man had not died in one piece. Indeed.
The cobbler nodded, for he was none other than Osama bin Baba Mustafa. The thief took a gold dinar from his purse and held it out to the cobbler.
This coin and 4 more are yours if you will show me where you performed such a marvelous act.
Mustafa let out a long sigh.
Alas, I cannot. I was led there blindfolded, and blindfolded I returned. Perhaps if I were blindfolded once again, I could lead you there by the sense of touch alone. Agreed. Allow me to blindfold you, then lead me along as best as you remember.
And so, bandaged afresh, Osama bin Baba Mustafa was able to find the way to Cassim's old house with little trouble, and he was very pleased with his reward. The delighted and crafty robber placed a mark on the door with a piece of white chalk and, sending Mustafa back to his shop, hurried away to the forest to tell his leader of his success. Shortly afterwards, when the servant Morgiana returned from the market, she saw the white mark on her master's door. Suspecting this to have been placed there by some unknown enemy, she fetched some chalk and marked all the other doors in the street in exactly the same way. That night the robber returned to the city with his comrades, planning to enter the house with the mark and kill all within. But when they reached the street, they found the same mark on every door, so they had no way of distinguishing one house from another. When the robber returned to the city with his comrades, he was dismayed to find how easily he had been tricked.
I must be dreaming. I marked only one door, and now I cannot tell which one it was.
The sheik was so angry that, as soon as his men returned to the forest, he cut off the unfortunate messenger's head. The sheik decided to deal with the matter himself. Taking the disguise of a wandering dervish, he sought out Osama bin Baba Mustafa and had the old cobbler lead him to the same house where he had led the first thief. The sheik was much more clever than his companions. Instead of marking the door, he memorized its appearance so he would recognize it, even in the dark. Then he returned to the forest and told his comrades his plan to murder all who lived in that house. A few nights later, disguised as an oil merchant, the sheik arrived at Cassim's house with 19 donkeys, each of which carried 2 large jars. Only one of these jars had oil in it. All the rest concealed the thieves, one to each. The sheik knocked on the door, and Ali Baba went down to see who it was. He found a man in the stained, dusty robes of an oil merchant standing in the street. A train of 20 mules accompanied him.
Peace be upon you, brother. I am Abul Faraj, a purveyor of fine oils. Is this the house of Cassim, the merchant?
Peace and Allah's blessing be upon you. I am sorry to say that my brother Cassim is dead.
Alas, your brother promised that if I ever came to Baghdad to sell my oil, I could lodge at his home. The hour is late. I have come all the way from Mosul, noble brother of an esteemed friend. Could you direct me to lodgings for myself and my 20 mules?
Go no farther. You are welcome here as my guest.
Ali Baba did not recognize the oil merchant as the sheik and the captain of the thieves. He invited him inside, led the mules into the courtyard, and asked Morgiana to prepare an extra meal for the guest. Before joining Ali Baba at dinner, the sheik went from mule to mule, whispering to the men in the jars.
As soon as the household is asleep, I will throw a handful of pebbles out my window. When you hear them fall, come out of the jars. Make no noise. Have your daggers ready. Remember, no one in the house is to remain alive.
Later that night, Morgiana was working in the kitchen when the oil lamp began to go out. As there was no more oil in the house, she decided to borrow a cupful from one of the merchant's jars. Just as she was about to remove the lid of the first jar, a voice surprised her from inside the jar, asking, "Is it time to come out yet?" Understanding the situation at once, the clever Morgiana calmly whispered, "No, not yet." As she went from jar to jar, she heard the same question and gave the same answer, till she came to the one jar which contained the oil. She filled her jug from this last jar and returned to the kitchen, and placed the oil into the kitchen fire, and brought it to a boil.